Time for another Hot Air Sports podcast with me and my good mate Mahon. And who knew that second half of rugby tests went for 88 minutes? 16 all. What the hell happened?
Well, Ian, I don't know whether you know this, my friend, but the game is always in the hands of the referee. And until the referee's final whistle, the game is not over. I was watching this with the missus, just going, why aren't they stopping the game? The siren's gone. This isn't a game of rugby league. It's always in the hand of the referee. And it's not until the ball, until we've got a stoppage in play. And there wasn't a stoppage in play. It made for the last 10 minutes of the game probably being more exciting than the previous 70 or 80, in my opinion. It was a pretty exciting finish.
More about that in the coming minutes. Another big weekend of sport. What did you watch over the weekend, mate?
Mate, I watched heaps. First of all, I started with the NRL, of course. Two great semi-final matches. Friday night, the Roosters 18 lost to the Raiders 22. Yes, that's right. They knocked out of the competition for the first time in 3 years. I thought Sonny Bill played really well. He's had a bit of criticism. He came off the bench as a late injury replacement, and I thought he played really, really well. But Raiders 5'8", Jack Whiten buried his grand final demons last year by leading Canberra to the 22-18 defeat, and that ended the Roosters' hopes of a three-peat. And Whiten was at the centre of the controversial 6 again call last week. Well, he overshadowed the Roosters' grand final defeat of the Raiders. He scored the match-winning try 11 minutes from full time to put the Green Machine within one win of another decider. And prop Josh Papali, my God, he provided the NRL moment of the year for me when he made that absolutely amazing tackle of the halfback from the Titans a few weeks back. He was in magnificent form. 46 tackles, did not miss a tackle all game, ran for close to 200 metres. Amazing dominant performance. He's probably the game's best prop at the moment. And fullback Chance Nickel-Clockstadt, what a player, what a performance. He's just getting better and better. Ran for over 200 metres. He was cramping after 60 minutes. He played absolutely amazing. Produced 3 try-saving efforts when they looked certain to score, when the Roosters looked certain to score. So great win by the Raiders. Really happy for them, actually. They're a real dark horse, and I can see them. I mean, they're going to play the Storm in the next round this week, and I can see them really taking on the Storm, taking them on in the forwards, and that's going to be a really, really good game. So happy for the Raiders. And then on Saturday night, the Eels 24. Wasn't enough for them. They lost to the Rabbitohs 38. The Eels, South Sydney, march on to their 3rd grand final qualifier in as many seasons. A stunning 30-point fight back ended Parramatta's horror week with more finals heartbreak. A simply electrifying first half flurry by Clint Gutherson, the Eels fullback. He's in amazing form. They got 3 tries, and then bang, 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 bang. Back came the Rabbits. It's a real game of momentum. I'm finding that since the lockdown, since they've come out of the lockdown, lots of the times the teams get off to a hell of a start, 12, 18 points, and then it all sort of seems to catch up, and the other team just seems to come back, and that's exactly what happened in this game. Damien Cook, the Aussie hooker, played perhaps his best game of the season. He had a hand in all 3 tries. The Rabbitohs rattled up 30 points in 40 minutes after the break, and they ruthlessly exploited critical errors from first Mitchell Moses and then Gutherson himself. Now, the game actually hinged with about 19 minutes to go. Moses lined up a kick right in front to take it to 20 all. It hit the post. None of the Eels were looking for the rebound. They were all back on the halfway line, and one of the Rabbits grabbed the ball. Jackson Paulo, 60-metre run downfield, and they scored a try. And in the end, it was Gutherson. Until this point, a moral for man of the match honours. He fumbled a Damien Cook grubber, and Bailey Sirinen, your mate Paul Sirinen's son, Big Siro, he scored the match-winning try. The Eels lamenting yet another season of lost opportunities. They led the way for half the season. They were top of the table for so long this year. They just can't get across the line. And once again, no grand final for the Eels. So some great NRL action over the weekend and some more to come this weekend. Of course, I also watched the NBA. Big final series. Jimmy Butler looked like he could do it for the Heat against the dirty LA Lakers, and he did all he could do. He did all he could to stop them, but injuries to other key players for the Heat and big-time plays from Anthony Davis and a triple-double from LeBron James in Game 6. 28 points, 14 rebounds, 10 assists means the dirty LA Lakers won their first NBA title since 2010, beating the Miami Heat 106 to 93 in Game 6. James won his fourth MVP title, Finals MVP, I should state. In his fourth championship ring with his third team. He's the only player to win three championships with three teams. And he only got stronger as the series progressed in the final. In the potential Game 5 clincher, he scored a staggering 40 points. And Jimmy Butler did just enough to extend it to Game 6. But over this whole series, 29.8 points LeBron James averaged, 11.8 rebounds and 8.5 assists. He almost averaged a triple-double, and he gets his fourth Finals MVP award to go along with his fourth championship trophy. And now it's the argument's on about him and Michael Jordan, who's the greatest of all time. We'll be talking about that a little bit later.
We'll have a bit of a chat about that later.
We will. So there you go. That's sort of what I watched. Of course, I watched the rugby as well, but I'll let you cover that because you were there live.
I certainly was, and yeah, what an exciting game. And as we've said, we'll talk a bit more on a few different issues over the next 20 minutes or so. But I really enjoyed the experience at the Cake Tin, or Sky Stadium it is at the moment, isn't it? They seem to...
Cake Tin in the sky.
Yes. Anyway, I also watched a bit of Mitre 10 Cup over the weekend. Canterbury got the weekend off with a good win over Manawatu. Manawatu can't seem to buy a win at the moment. They still are yet to pick one up. And the other big result was a game between Taranaki and Auckland. I watched most of it, and it was an absolute belter game. Auckland just picking up the win with 1 point, 29-28. So an exciting game. And your North Harbour boys are continuing a very good season. Absolutely thumping Hawke's Bay at Tuatara Park up there at North Harbour. They're enjoying some great form, and another high-scoring game. Wellington just losing out to Otago by the odd point, 35-34. So some exciting games, and Tasman back to winning ways, which we'll talk a bit more about coming up. The only other sport I really watched over the weekend was the MLB playoffs. Of course, the Yankees are now out, which is very distressing, of course. Tampa Bay Rays, they're just playing some great baseball at the moment. Of course, they lead the series against the baseball team from Houston by 2-0 at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see. They did a comparison the other day of the two payrolls, and the Tampa payroll is $12.5 million. Jose Altuve gets paid $12.7 million.
Wow.
So one player in the baseball team from Houston gets paid more than the entire Tampa Bay Rays.
So have the Tampa Bay Rays done sort of a Moneyball approach this year or something? Have they?
They've always been one of the lowest, if not the lowest payroll. They just have got owners that can't afford to pay big money. Tampa grows players like they're going out of fashion. They've got an amazing farm system and have bred some very good players, but they just can't keep them because they can't match the salaries of pretty much the other 29 MLB franchises in America. So, I mean,
you think this, even if they win the World Series this year, do you think the team will be dismantled and be picked from all the other teams, or?
It depends on where they are in their arbitration level, whether they're becoming free agents or not. You get 6 years of arbitration for a player. So basically from ages 20, 21, 22, whenever they first break in, you basically get control over them for 6 years. And the pay is basically set by MLB. So they're not paying superstar wages. You'll never see them sign a 5, 6, 7, 8 year deal with a superstar, because they just, the superstars' annual salaries are basically the complete Tampa payroll. So, I mean, they grow players through their farm system, keep them for as long as they can afford them, and then they hit free agency and go on to bigger and greater things at other organisations. Just a couple of names off the top of my head: Evan Longoria He left to go to the San Francisco Giants. James Shields was another great pitcher. David Price, who's been a great pitcher over the years for a number of clubs. He, of course, started out there, but as soon as he hit free agency, there was no way they were ever going to be able to afford him. So he moved on to Boston and is now with the Dodgers, although he's not been playing this year. So, yeah, it's great for Tampa. They've always, as I say, done this. They made the World Series back in...
It was a while ago.
2011, I think it was.
Yeah, about 10 years ago. And that's when they... And they did. That's their whole team got dismantled then, didn't it?
Yeah.
They lost basically their whole team.
Pretty much. And I mean, if they carry on with this series, they're going to make the World Series again and face either Atlanta or Los Angeles. And even though Atlanta won yesterday's game, that this is going to be a tight series. I've said all along Los Angeles would make the World Series, but if Atlanta can keep up the form that they're unbeaten in this postseason so far, and that was the Dodgers' first loss. So yeah, that series could go all the way, to 7 games. So
I like the guy that was on the mound for LA, Ferris Bueller's brother.
Yeah, Walker Buehler. He's a very good pitcher. He's the one to watch out for in the future. He's only in his 3rd season, I think.
Early 20s, young.
He's an incredible pitcher, and will go a long way in the game. And obviously, being in a franchise like the Dodgers, they're going to be able to afford to keep him once he becomes a free agent. So I imagine he'll be there for a long time, just like Clayton Kershaw has, although Kershaw's been scratched from today's start with a sore back. So he won't be pitching in Game 2 of that series. Really, when the Dodgers needed somebody like him to step up and continue what Buehler did yesterday, and it was only a late inning rally that won the game for the Braves.
So if you were coming from someone that didn't know much about baseball, you just wanted to pick a team and you have those 4 teams to pick, you've really only got one team you want to support, isn't there? I mean, there's the major underdogs. They've already beaten the Yankees. They're already ahead against the Astros. They could go all the way.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It would be incredible for a team with the payroll that they have to go all the way and win the World Series. But the way they're playing at the moment, they've got great pitching. They've got young pitchers in Blake Snell, who's already won a Cy Young, and he's still got another couple of years of arbitration left. You've got Tyler Glasnow, who they got in trade from Pittsburgh, and Charlie Morton, who they picked up, who won the World Series with Houston a couple of years ago. So they've done very well, and Charlie Morton's actually one of the few free agents that Tampa was able to afford, mainly because of his advancing years. I think he's 36 or 37 now, and they picked him up as a 34-year-old and put him on a 3-year deal. So he's a real mainstay, and he's an incredible pitcher, Charlie Morton. He's just got so much control with that ball. I mean, you talk about cricket bowlers who have control with the ball. They allow it to bounce. To control a baseball when it's not bouncing and do what they can do with the late movement is just unbelievable.
Yeah. Those guys that are seriously accurate, you just sort of think, my God, it just means they must throw a million pitches before they make the big leagues, right? They must just practice every bloody day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It is amazing to see. I mean, it's amazing to watch on TV, But when you actually go to a game and you see someone, I've never really been to a big league baseball game, but I've been to cricket matches where, you get a genuine fast bowler and you're watching it and you're going, I can't see the ball. I can't, it hits the catches or the wicketkeeper's gloves before you even see the ball. And you think, how come on TV that looks so easy? You can see the ball the whole way. And then you see it live. It's always so much faster. It's like the cars. When you go to a motor racing circuit and you see the cars and you think, my God, they're going fast. See it on TV, it just looks like they're going for a Sunday drive.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen games of baseball where it's finished up, 1-0 or 2-1, and you get people who go, gee, that must have been boring. And it's like, no. Watching a pitcher just absolutely control the opposition hitters. It's amazing to watch. It really is. I mean, cricket people who have watched the likes of Richard Hadley and Dennis Lilly, where they've got the ball on a string, watching some of these baseball pitchers, like Justin Verlander in his prime, Garrett Cole, Charlie Morton, and even the knuckleballers, baseball's equivalent of a
I
leg.
love them.
They are just incredible, where the ball's only
I love watching those
traveling
guys.
at about 60, 65 miles an hour.
No one can hit them.
And nobody can hit them, yeah.
It's so funny. They're used to seeing it 40 miles an hour faster. Yeah, it's incredible, eh? Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
That was pretty much my sport over the weekend, a solid diet of rugby and baseball.
And of course, you went to the big game. You went there. You actually saw it live at the Cape Town, at the stadium in the sky. You weren't in the cheap seats. You were in the expensive corporate seats, along with your fellow cucumber munching, sandwich eating executives, weren't you? So tell me about the game. What was it like? What was it like live, mate? Tell me about it. Tell me about the game.
It was really good. I think the only disappointing thing was you could only really hear the crowd when the action got, heated, because all the windows were shut and there were no TVs going on. But the crowd in the gallery where we were watching, was getting pretty excited. So it created a good atmosphere, albeit that it was inside, and just a great view from up at the top level of the stadium. So I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more there over the next few years, and
fantastic.
And a bit of cricket as well. We get to go to the Basin Reserve for the Test matches, and the one days there over the summer. So
and of course the crowds are back, which is fantastic. I mean, when I was watching the league with my missus on Saturday night when the Rabbits dumped out the Eels, the crowd. I mean, I know they allowed in about 10,000, I think, and my God, they made some noise. People are, because they've been away for so long, I think they're really realizing what they missed. People are not going anymore to just sit on their hands, are they? They're going there to really experience it and make some noise, and it's great to see.
And there's a lot of envy around the world.
There is.
Facebook this morning, I saw a post that was on
Sky Sports
Leeds United fan page. And it had a picture of Sky Stadium with all the crowd, with the byline, these people are able to watch sport live without masks.
I know. Isn't it crazy? The rest of the world, we are the envy of the rest of the world. Just long may it continue, mate, because the crowds, they just elevate sport, don't they? I mean, they really do. They make it what we want, what we love. And
I did actually notice yesterday in the Braves-Dodgers game, which is being played at the brand new Texas Rangers Stadium, they actually had some support.
They did.
They allowed a certain amount, and they were spread out, around the stadium, and pretty much only on the top levels. But good to see some people in the stadium finally.
Absolutely. Not fans, not just family.
Yes.
Okay, mate. It's time for our 2-minute hits. We've got about 15 odd questions here. We're going to go through. We've got 2 minutes on each of us sort of bouncing backwards and forwards. Let's start with our rugby questions. And I'm going to start with this one. The All Blacks bumbled their way to a draw against the Wallabies and looked very rusty in their first hit out. Well, the Wallabies look sharp under new coach Dave Rennie. Have the All Blacks got the right coach, Macca? Have the All Blacks got the right coach?
I mean, I know it is only one test into his tenure, but when it came to picking the All Black coach at the end of last year, I actually thought the New Zealand Rugby Union stuffed it up and should have got Dave Rennie themselves. I've been a big Dave Rennie fan, and he's got a great record in New Zealand. And if you compare his record with the Chiefs to Ian Foster's record with the Chiefs, there's really no comparison.
No.
Foster got the Chiefs to one Super Rugby final where they got beaten by the Blue Bulls, I think it was.
In South Africa. They got humped too.
Rennie coached the Chiefs for 5 years, won 2 titles. And in the first couple of years, they probably should have won a title. He assembled a very good side and had them absolutely humming. And then, of course, when he went overseas, he did a great job with, it was either Glasgow or Edinburgh. I think it might have been Glasgow he was with.
Yep.
Did a very good job there. And I've been a big fan of Dave Rennie's for a very long time. I actually remember him as a player. He was a good second 5/8 for Wellington back in the day. Very strong running second 5/8, and was unlucky not to be an All Black himself. But yes, and of course the elephant in the room is sitting in his chair in Christchurch watching the games on Scotty Robertson.
I don't think he is sitting in his chair, mate. I don't think that guy can sit in a chair. He's always on the move. He's breakdancing around his lounge when the All Blacks score. Yeah, no, that's true.
One comment I did hear on the radio before the test was that it was the first time in 17 years that Steve Hansen wasn't part of the coaching team.
Wow. Yeah, well, you can see why Steve Hansen quite enjoyed sort of watching it down in his salubrious palace down in Christchurch, just laying back, having a beer and watching the game on Saturday night after 17 seasons. So,
yes, but I guess the proof will be in the pudding for Ian Foster. You know, he's got another test in Auckland this weekend.
He does.
Possibly the Rugby Championship if that ends up going ahead. So I think we'll reserve judgment just
okay.
And
we'll reserve judgment. If he loses at Eden Park against the Wallabies, we aren't going to be the only ones asking that question. Okay, mate, who's in and who's out for test number 2? Who's in and who's out? Have you seen any of the team lineups, shadow lineups, or anything?
Well, they won't name the teams probably until Friday morning. That's usually 48 hours before the game. I must admit I was very surprised when I heard that Bowden Barrett had pulled out and he pulled in Damien McKenzie. I thought
that was a strange one.
I thought the easier thing to do would have been put Geordie straight to fullback and bring back Sevu Reece onto the wing.
Or Caleb Clark.
Yeah, one of those two.
Yep.
I actually think Damien McKenzie's lost a yard of pace since his ACL injury. He hasn't got the same explosiveness that he used to have. Whether that's just me, I don't know if you've noticed that or anybody else has noticed that, but I just don't think he's the same player. And I mean, some people will say, oh, well, you know, it's only his first test in over a year. Well, yeah, but he played all through Super Rugby, and I didn't think he had that great a Super Rugby competition.
Yeah, Damien McKenzie is a strange one. For me, he's one of those sort of players that for me, I wouldn't have him in the starting lineup ever. I just think he's too flighty for an All Black. He makes some great mercurial moves, but other times he just does stupid stuff. And I just don't think the All Blacks can afford to have a player like that starting. I think he's a great option off the bench. He covers multiple positions. He can kick. He can do a lot of things, but I wouldn't have him anywhere near the starting lineup. I would have definitely dropped Geordie to fullback. He's a fullback. He's not a winger. And had a winger on the wing. Damien McKenzie, yeah, great option as a utility, but I wouldn't start him. So I thought that was a strange decision as well. I don't know whether I don't know about the yard of pace. He's still. I do love him as a player. His bravery and his courage. He's in such a little guy, and his defense is pretty good too. But yeah, I just don't think he's in the top 3 fullbacks, really.
I think with the pace thing, it's probably more that explosiveness right from the start. He just doesn't explode like he used to. And his first 2 or 3 steps. Direction, he's still quick. Don't get me wrong, but I remember him being a lot quicker and a lot more explosive. And anyway, the only other change, I'd leave the forwards as they are. In the backs, I would probably start with Anton Leonard-Brown and bring Rieko Ioane off the bench.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, I think that's a really good idea.
Despite everybody saying, Ioane bombed a try, that's the way he does it. So, he's the kind of player.
What did you think of the other midfielder, the one who's cut off his mullet?
Yeah, Goodhue. He was steady, strong. He never missed a tackle.
He didn't do much, though, did he?
He always made ground. I mean, he always gained past the advantage line, which is what they're asking him to do. I mean, they're asking him to crash the ball up. Jack Goodhue is never going to play the same way as Rieko Ioane or Caleb Clark or Will Jordan or any.
No.
He's just your steady second 5. He's going to do his job. He'll score a few tries and he won't miss a tackle. I'd leave Goodhue in there.
All right. We've seen it again and again, mate, and again and again, and we saw it on Saturday night again. The All Blacks never seem to learn, do they? Why are we so reluctant to kick a drop goal to win a match of rugby, mate? Why are we so reluctant to do it?
I don't know. It's just, I mean, even going back to when Dan Carter was there, who could drop kick goals. They never did
Yep.
it. And then when Bowden Barrett started playing first five, it was like, well, he's not really much of a drop kicker. And now they've got somebody who can drop kick in at first five, Richie Mo'unga, and he was sitting back in the pocket waiting for that ball. Yet, I can't remember who it was, decided to pass it out to Geordie Barrett, and it was way in front of him, and he had to dive for it. If that ball had gone to hand, there would have been a try in the corner, no doubt about it. But yeah, they really need to have a think about that, and it's
crazy. It's crazy. Honestly, what's more important? I mean, you would have thought, look, the All Blacks' legacy is based upon winning, regardless of how they win. And you'd think that, especially with our very poor history of losing test matches or drawing, close matches where we can get ourselves in front of the post, but we don't even – the thing is we don't even try. We didn't even try. We didn't even look at it. I was watching – maybe we were all excited in that last period of play. If the ball goes out, it's over. But that means we're going to win the game if they get the kick. So I just did it. I was saying to the wife, I could just tell they were not going to get a drop goal. No. And whether that's a mental thing, I really think it is. I think it's a mental. I think it's an All Black thing where they're just like, we're better, we score tries, we're the All Blacks. But I think you've got to come a little bit out of that realm and sort of get into the realm of reality rather than fantasy and just win the bloody game sometimes.
Absolutely. So, anyway, Aaron Smith, he was hard on himself after the game, saying he needs to be better. But in fact, he was actually one of the few to impress in that back line, and he's closing in on 100 tests. Is he now the greatest All Black halfback ever?
I would say that he's bloody close if he's not there already. The thing is, you start looking at competitors for that spot, and you'd probably say, Justin Marshall with the numbers, but then again, he lacked the pass. He was more of a sort of physical halfback. And then you think people like Sid Going and Trapper Loveridge, who I know you love. They were different sorts of halfbacks again. And then you've got, Graham Bishop going back further. But I can't think of anyone that does all parts of the game as well as he does. And another part that I got to see because I was watching it on television, you probably didn't get to see it. Maybe you did because he was making so much noise on Saturday night. There was a crowd in the stadium, but all I could hear was him screaming and yelling. He's got this real high-pitched voice when he screams and yells. It's like, and you could just hear him barking. He's like a butcher's dog, mate. I think he's probably the best in the whole gamut of skills as far as the number 9 goes, and just his competitive spirit and the way he barks at those forwards. I'd say he's the best we've ever had, mate.
I'd have to agree with you there. I think the only one that really comes close would be Dave Loveridge. He had a really complete all-round game, but I think Smith's pass is just that little bit crisper than Trapper's was. He does. He runs the. A lot of people say that first 5/8 run the game. He runs the game for the All Blacks. Absolutely no doubt about it. Doesn't matter who's at first 5 or anywhere. I think he's our best ever halfback. The likes of Sid Going do come close. Sid's pass wasn't as good as Loveridge's and Aaron Smith's or Graham Bishop's, as you mentioned. And Justin Marshall's pass, he's probably the first to admit that it wasn't his greatest asset. But Aaron Smith for me is the greatest ever All Black halfback.
Wow, great consensus there, mate. Will we get consensus on this one? Is Rieko Ioane's try technique, is that going to cost him and his team more tries? Is he going to keep doing this? What's going on, mate? And he stepped on the line for the first try too.
Yeah, lucky they got away with that one. But it's something that it's his, his way of doing it. Lots of different players have different ways of celebrating things. We see cricketers, the West Indian guy who does the salute whenever he gets a wicket.
That's right.
And the Pakistani guy who does the Cristiano Ronaldo type celebration. Ronaldo's celebration in football. Alan Shearer, with the one arm up in the air. That's his way of scoring a try. I don't know whether he's going to change it and whether he'll just tuck it under the wing and fall on it like most people do. So, yeah, it depends, I guess, on what the coaches have to say about it.
Yeah, I did wonder. I did wonder if he got a bit of a bullet in the change room.
whether they
He was yanked off too.
Whether they pull him aside at training and say, look,
next time,
you just tuck it under your wing and fall over. None of this rubbish.
Because that would have been a bloody good try too, wouldn't it? That's not the. It was just such a good try. And actually, leading up to that try, there was a late hit on Richie Mo'unga that was just sickening, mate. No arms and no mention of it in the commentary either. So that was absolutely crazy. But Rico Ioane, I'll tell you what, if he had have done that maybe 20 years ago, all of the rugby heads would have come out and said, oh, he's just a league player. That's how league players dotted over. What's he doing? They would have. Because to me, Rico does look like a league player playing rugby. He really does.
Yeah.
And his brother's a bit the same. And that's just a bit of the flair. I just don't think you take that out of him. I don't think you can take that away. But it would be one in 100 he misses out on. And it was just unfortunate, mate. It was just
what it actually reminded me of, completely different type of doing it. But remember how Doug Howlett always used to like to take it right up to the dead ball line before he put it down, and just about every try you were like, "Oh, put it down!
What are you doing? What are you doing?"
That was his way of doing it. Thankfully, he managed to get it down every time before the dead ball line. And
the worst one of all time is the Michael Witt one against the bloody Melbourne Storm, where he went across the line the last minute, held the ball up in the air. What are you doing?
Taken out.
Oh, God. That was terrible.
Anyway.
Mate, there's speculation that the Spring...
Oh, you're going to do it, are you?
I'll do it. You do it. Okay, the speculation that the Springboks are now going to pull out of the Rugby Championship. I mean, they're pulling their teams out left, right and centre, mate. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, well, it's probably about time. It just... The South Africans have been trying to run everything ever since, they got readmitted to World Rugby. They come up with the excuse, oh, well, we've been out of World Rugby, let's just try and do it our way. And I certainly know the New Zealand Rugby Union's had enough of their posturing, and I'm pretty sure the Australian Rugby Union is probably sick of it as well. So maybe it's just time to pull the ripcord and say, okay, you go off and do what you want to do, and we'll just carry on over here. And I mean, I've been a critic of Sanzar on many of these podcasts.
Yeah.
So, let's just make it Anza.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, mate. I couldn't agree more. Go and play your international rugby in the Northern Hemisphere. Do whatever you want. To be fair, I've got a little bit sick of playing Australia and South Africa every bloody year. I think that the championship should be every 2 years for a start.
Yep.
So that when we play it in between World Cups or something, I don't know, less is more sometimes,
Yeah.
You can't play the same opposition all the time. And remember when the Springboks used to actually tour here? Maybe we could bring that back. There's a novel idea.
Yep.
Let's go back to a tour where they come here and we've got Super Rugby teams. They could play all 5 Super Rugby teams, maybe a Maori team, 3 tests. That's 8 games, done and dusted, 8 or 9 games, a tour. You could do that over a couple of months. And how good would that be? How good would that be?
Absolutely. The whole thing should be basically, you've got the World Cup every 4 years, and in the middle years you have your Rugby Championship, so you get that every 2 years, and then that odd year you get a tour, a Lions tour, or South Africa touring, or Scotland touring, or
us touring Australia, or us touring South Africa. Exactly, mate. I mean,
but we all know it comes down to the dollar or the rand in South Africa.
Matty Mula.
And unfortunately, in Sanzar over the years, it's been the South Africans that have got the best out of the deal, because they have a far bigger viewing audience than New Zealand and Australia. So that's what it's.
Because they've got Super Sport. They have the Super Sport channel where they play rugby 24/7 on Super Sport. Okay. Final rugby question, mate. Tasman back to winning ways. They look to be closing in on a showdown with the mighty Auckland for the title, for the NPC title. If it's a Tasman-Auckland showdown, mate, who you got?
Tasman, all the way.
Not even thinking about it.
Especially without the All Blacks. I think Auckland have picked up the wins since the All Blacks have gone, but they've not exactly set the world on fire in their games, and their defence looked a bit ragged against the Taranaki team on the weekend. But I mean, so you're an Auckland fan now, are you? I thought you were a Harbour man.
No, I'm definitely picking Tasman, because if Tasman win, North Harbour can take the high ground and say we're the only team to beat them this year. So there you go.
Right.
There you go. So I would listen. No, I'd never support Auckland. Can't do that, mate. We broke away from them in the mid '80s, and good riddance too.
Quite right.
Okay, so that's our.
Before we move on to the next one, you also got to take Waikato into account. They've got the same record as Auckland at the moment. In fact, all three teams have got the same record. It's just Tasman leading on bonus point.
And Waikato have a very, very handy forward pack. A number of those forwards were very unlucky not to make the All Blacks wider squad, I think, and they've got a bit to prove. Very gnarly, grizzled old forward pack. I really like the look of that Waikato forward pack. So maybe it'd be a Waikato-Tasman final. That wouldn't be the worst final.
Be, or of course there is the dark horse Canterbury in there as well. They're just so
hopefully they'll get relegated.
Going by current standings, Tasman will probably beat Canterbury in the semi-finals.
Probably. Maybe they need to rename the Super Rugby team to the Tasman Crusaders.
Anyway, moving on from rugby. New Zealand Cricket are going to implement the ICC's saliva ban on all cricketers, stopping them from spitting during matches and using saliva to shine the ball. Is this practical, and will it work?
Absolute bollocks. What a load of crap. How are you going to stop this? I remember when we had the COVID start of the everyone came out of lockdown, and they sort of said, all the footballers, no one's going to be spitting. First match, I saw people spitting all over the place. Yeah. You can't stop habits of a lifetime. It's just impossible. How are you going to police this exactly? Is the umpire going to have a spit card, or what? I just don't know. It's just impossible to implement. I mean, I can understand the philosophy behind it, and I think it's fine to sort of put that in as a part of the like moral rules of the game. But as far as how you police it and how exactly you implement a rule like that, I've got no idea how you're going to do it. So don't think it's practical, personally.
Well, especially when you look at probably 90% of the bowlers around the world in the game of cricket. What do they do before they go shine the ball?
Absolutely. I know. So are you allowed to lick your fingers but not touch the ball?
Oh, I don't know.
Is the spit allowed to come from another spot rather than, that's the whole thing. I mean, are they going to fill their pockets with saliva? I just don't. Yeah, and if you stop the spitting, people will start applying moisture from other areas of the ground. So whether it's drink bottle.
The other thing that makes me chuckle away to myself is they've got all these. They're bringing in all these rules, but aren't the teams that are playing cricket or any other sport supposed to be in their own bubbles? So if they're in a bubble where nobody's tested positive for COVID, playing against another team who are in a bubble that's all tested negative for COVID, why do they need to?
Well, this is something that I've been wondering about when I watch these football matches as well. All these players have all been tested numerous times. No one's in the stadium, no one, and they're all wearing masks. It's like,
and they all have to sit 3 seats apart.
What?
Yet they sit next to each other in the changing room inside.
I know. Shower with each other. It's like, I don't know, mate. It just seems strange to me.
Good segue. A good segue into the next point.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Well, Naby Keita is the latest Liverpool star to test positive, and just today, a lot of people would say the GOAT, Cristiano Ronaldo, has just tested positive to coronavirus while away on international duty, same as Naby Keita. Is it time to shelve international football during the pandemic completely? Just shelve it. I mean, these teams are in their bubbles when they're with their clubs, but they go away on international duty, they test positive. Should we shelve international football?
Absolutely. I can't believe that clubs haven't shouted this high and loud ever since they came back from from the big break. It's just ridiculous. You know, you're encouraging players to pick up the disease when they're flying all around the world. You know, I know they're on charter flights, but you can't stop everything. And you know, these players are picking up, you know, getting these positive tests while they're away on international duty. Yeah, sure, a couple of Liverpool players got it, picked it up, but I mean, Thiago had just joined the team, so he probably picked it up somewhere on his way. Sadio Mane picked it up probably from Thiago, I don't know.
Yeah.
And you find that Xherdan Shaqiri tests positive. He meets up with the Switzerland team and then tests negative. So, you know,
I don't get it.
And now with, as you say, Ronaldo picking it up, I think maybe some calmer heads may have to prevail and say, well, look, I mean, the competition that they're playing at the moment, it's the UEFA Nations League, which was made up just to stop teams playing so many friendlies. So really, they're only friendly internationals, and teams probably don't really care that much whether they win the Nations League. You know, they're more interested in next year's Euros or the World Cup, which is happening in a couple of years. So
it's absolutely crazy, isn't it, mate? I mean, that's the thing. They go to so much effort to keep them in bubbles, to make sure that they don't test positive when they're with their clubs. And then there's an international duty and they just go, see you later. And they jump on a plane and they go somewhere and they play a match that with no one in the stadium, and it doesn't mean anything. It's a friendly match. And what is the reward? I mean, I just don't understand. I just think you need to shelve this until they've got the pandemic under control in more areas in the world. It's just ridiculous for sending them away. Crazy. Still on football, mate. The Merseyside Derby is this weekend. Ooh, looking forward to that one, if we can get a team together. With Everton flying high at the top of the table and Liverpool looking to bounce back from their disastrous 7-2 loss to Aston Villa. Who you got in this one, mate?
The Aston Villa game, I don't know what game you're talking about. I have no memory of that game whatsoever. Of course, I'm backing the Whitey Reds to come bounce back and come out all guns blazing. You know, Everton's been getting a lot of press, of course, over the last few months, and we've been patting them on the back with their transfer activity. But the time has come to put them back in their place, and I can see a big Liverpool win coming up this weekend at Goodison Park. So, yeah, easy one for me.
Oh, I love the cut of your jib, mate. I love it. Maybe I'm more of a realist. I'm a little bit worried, to be fair. We've got a few injuries. We've got a few people suffering from COVID, and they are just flying at the moment. I know that we are trying to lull them into a false sense of security by telling them they're great and all that sort of thing, but I'd be quite happy with a draw, to be fair. But you know, Liverpool is the sort of team that if they do get pantsed, they often do bounce back stronger. So I hope you're right rather than me.
Yes, well, we will be getting a few players back this week, of course, with Thiago and Mane are back at full training now after their COVID scares, and Joel Matip is available again. He's back to full fitness, and so yeah, I think with those guys back, I think they'll definitely be playing a hell of a lot better than they did the last time.
We still don't have a goalkeeper though.
No, we still don't have a goalkeeper. There was talk about possibly buying Jack Butland from Stoke, but that doesn't appear to be happening. You know, Klopp's pretty loyal to his players, and I mean, you know, loyalty can only stretch so far. Adrian has made a few mistakes, you know, which have cost games over the last couple of years. So it'll be interesting to see how long that loyalty keeps sticking around. So we'll just have to wait and see on that one. But yeah, I'm picking Liverpool to pick up the 3 points on the weekend.
And I'm happy to go with your prediction.
Anyway, a big one. Massive changes proposed for the Premier League, with the power shifting to the top 9 clubs in the competition, the Big Six plus longest serving clubs, Everton, West Ham and Southampton. They're looking at reducing the Premier League to 18 teams, getting rid of the Community Shield and League Cup, 25% of all Premier League revenue to be given to Football League clubs in the Championship Leagues 1 and 2, and playoffs involving the 16th placed team in the Premier League with the 3rd, 4th and 5th placed Championship team. Is this a good or a bad thing?
Yeah, I've heard major conflictory arguments on this, people saying it's just a cash grab by the big clubs and they're looking for other people saying, no, we need this money to trickle down. We have to make changes, all that sort of thing. I think it's probably a little bit of both, but mainly I'm actually quite for this for a number of reasons. There's a number of clubs go to the wall over the last little while because of COVID and other things. Morecambe and Barnet, I think it went to the wall as well. And it's just not sustainable. Obviously, Premier League clubs, when you get to the Premier League, yes, there's lots of money around and all that sort of thing. But in the lower leagues, they definitely need something to trickle down. 18 teams, I can't see why that wouldn't work. The only thing is that means 2 teams right at the very bottom will have to drop out. There's also a talk of the team that's the third from bottom in the Premier League having a playoff with the top teams and stuff like that as well. So maybe promotion relegation changing a little bit. I really don't see too much wrong with these things. I mean, other than everyone saying, it's the big clubs and they'll just be going. But that ultimately, isn't that what they're running the game anyway? So I sort of think, yeah, you're not really dancing with the devil because it's the devil, you know. And also getting rid of the League Cup. I'm not so sure we need to get rid of the League Cup, but I did a little bit of research about the League Cup. That was only brought in the 1970s when the teams got floodlights for their stadiums and they wanted to play midweek games with floodlights. So, you know, that came about for other reasons. And maybe they should just play that amongst other teams other than the Premier League. I don't know. The Community Shield, stupid competition, but why do we need to get rid of it? There's only two teams playing it every year anyway. So why do we need to get rid of that? That's not really going to reduce the fixture list. Ultimately, though, this is just a proposal. I think this is just a proposal. This is just a starting document. So I'm not as outraged as some others, and I think there's some good points there. I wouldn't go along with all of them, though. What about you?
I'm pretty much the same. I think a lot of the points are very good, and I think mainly the people that are against it are people who just can't handle change. And you know, remember back to the early 90s when the Premier League came in. And the Football League were, this will never work, it's all a grab for money. Yes, it was a grab for money, we all know that. But yeah, I think it's worked. You know, you know, with the obviously clubs in the Premier League get great revenue from the likes of Sky Television and the likes. And it's just, I mean, at the moment, those top teams with the amount of football they play with, you know, the League Cup, the, you know, Europa League, Champions League and all that. I mean, clubs are playing, if they do well in all 4 competitions, like Manchester City did a few years ago, you're playing close to 70 games, if not over 70 games a season. And I mean, only 38 of those are in the actual league. So
it's crazy, eh?
Yeah, and it just means that players are going to last longer in the game.
Yep. Things have to change, mate. They have to, because COVID's forced this on us, but yeah, it's just progress, isn't it? I mean, it used to be 22 teams in the Premier League. Before it was the Premier League, the first division. Then it was 20, and everyone said, oh, no, that'll be the worst thing ever. The only thing that I'm slightly I still want to see the odd Leicester and Blackburn come through and win the league occasionally. I don't know whether this would stop that, but that's the only sort of real major hiccup around the rest of it. I think, like you say, change is a good thing if it's done for the right reasons. Let's move to tennis, mate. The ASB Classic is the latest sporting event to be cancelled due to COVID. What does this mean for New Zealand tennis?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure New Zealand tennis aren't very happy about it. I think it all came down to trying not to be flippant here, but it's just in the too hard basket. I think, with a team coming here, it's easier to put them all in a bubble and keep them in a hotel, or then they can go to the one training ground which is dedicated to them and nobody else is going to be there. With tennis players, I mean, they're playing tournaments virtually every week of the year. And to bring in 32 or 60 odd tennis players for men's and women's tournaments and doubles and all that sort of thing, you're creating 60 odd different bubbles.
It's not manageable, eh?
It's just not manageable. And I mean, the only way, they did come up with a proposal whereby they moved the 2 tournaments to the week after the Australian Open, and they would just put everybody in a bubble in Australia at the Australian Open. Good luck with that in Victoria. And put them all on a charter flight and bring them over to Auckland. But, the costs of doing that just far out, we're too big for little old New Zealand tennis and their sponsors to be able to do and all that. If the at the moment New Zealanders can go to New South Wales without having to quarantine, until it happens the other way, I really think that it was the only choice for them to cancel it this year and hopefully bigger and better.
I don't think they can do anything. I think you're exactly right. They don't have a choice. It's an international tournament. People are coming from all over. It's just too risky. And I just think the New Zealand tennis, let's be honest, New Zealand tennis has been in the domestic game has been in such a sorry state for so bloody long. Maybe just focus on your knitting for a little while, just focus on the local game. Try and breed some new stars. We need new local superstars in tennis. We haven't had any since Belinda Caldwell and Brett Steven, maybe. They were the last big ones. I mean, that was a generation ago, mate. Yeah. So I think, we've got two great international tournaments here. There's no reason why they can't come back when we get rid of COVID. But where are the next New Zealand tennis stars coming from? I think that's what New Zealand tennis needs to concentrate on in the interim. The America's Cup challenges have started arriving in Auckland for the big event in March next year, mate. Are you excited yet? Or are you even interested? This is what I get every time when I dial you up. Hey, mate, you start with a nice big yawn.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sorry. It's where do I?
You haven't seen the boats. You haven't seen the boats out on the harbour, man. It's an amazing. They look incredible, flying in the air. They are. It's amazing. When I'm driving across the harbour bridge. Sorry, when I'm parked on the harbour bridge. Look,
when it's open,
gives me something to watch.
It's gone ever since New Zealand did the big boat and Dennis Conner did the catamaran. I've just lost interest in the America's Cup, even when we won it in Bermuda or Bahama or wherever it was.
We're sailing a cat. They're sailing a dog.
I've just lost interest in the America's Cup ever since then. It was really good back in the 80s and 90s, when Chris Dixon sailed the Plastic Fantastic and winning it in San Diego all those years ago. That was fantastic.
95, yeah.
The whole country got behind it. And
Red Sox.
It's gone to the ridiculous stage now where it's who can create the machine that goes fastest on the water. Which, it's great and exciting to watch them fly along, but it's not sailing anymore. Whoever invented the America's Cup must be turning in their graves, absolutely turning.
The America's Cup's one of those funny things, man. It's a bit like the Olympics for me. I really take no interest at all. I don't look a little bit. When it starts, I might get interested. That's what happens. Last time, it didn't take much interest, but once it started, got into a little bit, got interested. So that's probably because I live in a city with a harbour and you don't.
Hey, we've got Lake Wairarapa just down the road.
Oh, Lake Wairarapa.
Anyway, big question for you this weekend, mate.
Go on.
NRL semi-finals this weekend to see who's going to the big dance next weekend.
Yes.
Rabbits, Storm and Raiders. Who you got?
Okay, Panthers, Rabbits. I can't see the Panthers losing this one. The Rabbits have been on a bit of a run. When I say a bit of a run, they've done very, very well over the last 4 or 5 weeks. They've beaten them previous minor premiers, and then they've beaten everyone along the way. And they've got super coach Wayne Bennett in the box, coaching around his 900th game. I'm not kidding when I say no. It was his 860-something game the other day. I was like, hang on, you worked that out. That's like 30, 40 games a season. How long's this guy been coaching? Well, a long time. And he's in the box. So you got to say they've got a chance. But the way the Panthers have been going this year, man, they've only lost one game all season. I think the Panthers are going to the big dance. So lock that one in. I think the Panthers will beat the Rabbitohs. The Storm and the Raiders, this is the one I'm really looking forward to, man. The Storm just do everything so brilliantly and beautifully. They are a machine of a team. They are just so clinical. so beautifully coached, and for that reason, I'm going for the Raiders. The Raiders are everything that the Storm aren't. They are flair. They'll throw it around. They play with gay abandon. They just take risks. They are brutal, and I'm really looking forward to this. Two different styles, two coaches who know each other very well and are both very fiery characters. Really looking forward to this one. I'm picking the Raiders. Now, that's a bit of an upset. I think the Raiders can make it through the big dance again, and that will set up an amazing final. Raiders-Panthers for me in the grand final, and what a game that will be. That'll just be attack versus attack. And of course, the Raiders made it last year, couldn't quite win it. They've been there before. That'll get all the juices flowing. Maybe it's their year this year. They've been there and lost one. Can they win it? And the Panthers, their first one. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, mate. Looking forward to a great weekend of rugby league. But Panthers and Raiders for me. What about
I
you?
have to agree with you there. A couple of weeks back when we were talking about who our finalists would be when the playoffs first started, I think we both said Panthers against the Storm.
We did.
But, yeah, just watching the bits and pieces that I did see over the weekend, I'm going to pick the Raiders to upset the Storm as well. So, yeah, Panthers, Raiders. And isn't that a repeat of a final back in the early 90s when the Soldiers beat them?
Maybe I've forgotten that one. Yeah. Was it Royce Simmons over in the corner? Yeah, Greg Alexander and Mark Geyer and all those great
Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a great grand final. So let's hope we get more of that. Mate, the great race at Mount Panorama this weekend. What are your fondest memories of Bathurst? I bet you've got a few.
Oh, crikey. You can't go past Peter Brock.
No.
I remember one particular race, he crashed out or had a mechanical problem and he missed. He was in the pits for about a lap and a half equivalent, and it came down, and without a safety car, he came back out with about 50 laps to go and damn near won the thing. He was just absolutely flying. I don't think I've ever seen a car thrown round a course like Brocky did on that occasion. He and Big Daryl Eastlake was doing the commentary.
Oh, Big Daryl!
He was just going off. Brocky, come on! And, this was back in the day.
Rest in peace, Big Daryl Eastlake.
Oh, absolutely.
Too. Yeah.
Back in the days before the current, Supercars Championship was around, and I'm talking probably 25, 30 years ago, when Brock and Dick Johnson and Alan Moffat all were fighting hammer and tongs against each other. Don't ask me who actually ended up winning. I couldn't tell you. But I just remember Brocky coming from absolutely nowhere to finish about third or fourth, and just brilliant. And the other one, it's probably not a great memory for Ford fans, but Glenn Seaton running out of gas on the final lap.
That's right.
He led virtually the whole way, and just the pictures of him just absolutely devastated. And it just came to a stop virtually on the last corner, and he was well ahead too. He was, coming in to win.
Should have thrown a petrol can in on his last lap. He could have just filled it back up and carried on. But no. Have you ever? Sorry.
The other couple both involved Greg Murphy. One is when he won, of course, with Craig Lowndes. That was a great memory. And who can forget Greg Murphy and Marcus Ambrose having it out on the mountain. I thought there was going to be punches thrown.
So did I.
But they managed to calm themselves down. So, yeah, some absolutely fantastic memories of Mount Bath.
Have you ever been there, Maggo?
No, it's definitely on the bucket list.
I think we need to go.
One year. And, of course, Michelle's a big supercars fan and has always wanted to go there. And, in fact, before we met, her and a good friend Lisa used to go along to Pukekohe every year, and 1 year they were going to go along and make up a sign, "Love motorsport and are available." So they didn't end up doing it, but they talked about it a couple of times. So
lucky for you, mate. Lucky for you. Otherwise, you might not have been.
Well, exactly. Yeah,
hey?
Not have been in the picture. So yeah, we'll be watching Bathurst on Sunday, and we'll record the rugby and watch that straight afterwards.
Beautiful. Let's stick with motorsport, shall we, mate? Lewis Hamilton wins another Formula One Grand Prix to take his all-time wins to 91 and equal Michael Schumacher's record. He received the trophy, actually, afterwards from Michael Schumacher's son, which was a really nice touch. Is he now the greatest of all time in in Formula One?
No, he's not.
No, he's not.
Ayrton Senna will never be beaten as the greatest of all time. He would have won just as many races as Schumacher had he not been tragically killed in Italy.
Great call.
Ayrton Senna was just, he was a god on those tracks, an absolute god. And Lewis Hamilton, don't get me wrong, is a great driver, as was Schumacher. But yeah, just, they both raced for a long time to get to those number of wins.
They did.
And Hamilton's got a great team behind him, as Schumacher did when he was driving for, firstly, was it Benetton? I think he drove for first before he went to Ferrari.
Great call, mate. Great call.
Yeah.
Great call about Ayrton Senna. I think for me, he was a great driver as well. Alain Prost back in the day as well. Those battles with Senna will never be forgotten. And of course, before them, my favourite Formula One racing car driver of all time, when I was about 6 or 7, was Gilles Villeneuve. He was an absolutely fantastic driver, and he used to race with his butt out as well, man. He was just a crazy driver.
His son wasn't bad either.
His what?
His son wasn't bad
Oh,
either.
no, he was a good, fantastic Formula One driver as well. Lewis Hamilton, though, when you look at the stats, 91 wins, 160 podiums to Michael Schumacher's 155. He's only raced in 261 Grand Prix as opposed to 306. But I would suggest that Michael Schumacher was probably a little bit more competitive between the teams back in his time. He's had 51 fastest laps. Michael Schumacher had 77. So maybe, and Michael Schumacher 7 times world champ, Lewis Hamilton 6, but he might be the winner again this year, so he might take it to 7. I'd say looking at those stats, you could probably argue that he would be up there with the greatest of all time, but death throws a spanner in the works with Ayrton Senna and Gilles Villeneuve there for me. Anyway, speaking of goats, let's keep on our goat trail. LeBron James wins his 4th NBA championship and his first with the LA Lakers. Should he now be in the conversation, at least, to be the basketball GOAT? What do you think, Macca?
Yes, he should be in the conversation, but he's still got a long way to go to catch Michael Jordan for me. Jordan's 6 titles, 6 MVPs in the finals. Every time he won it, he won the MVP, and plus his, regular season MVP titles. LeBron James is a very good player, don't get me wrong. He is considered a great player, for the reason that we all know. He manages to bring teams up to great levels whenever he plays for them. Just look at what he did with the Cavaliers when they won the championship with him. But Michael Jordan's still quite a bit ahead in that respect. And saying that, Michael Jordan's a bit ahead of everybody.
I think so,
in that respect. I mean, there's been some great basketball players in the past. Julius Erving, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Larry Bird, all those guys from the
Bill Russell,
yeah.
Don't forget Bill Russell,
Jerry West,
absolutely.
A lot of great.
Wilt Chamberlain, man.
Wilt Chamberlain,
first guy to hit 100 points in a game. He was an amazing player.
But I'm afraid they're all behind Michael Jordan in that respect.
Yeah, I think Michael Jordan's still the greatest. I think for me, the main difference, that's the thing. LeBron's amazing. He really is. I was never a fan of LeBron James early on, especially when he went to the Heat. And when he went back to the Cavaliers, I thought, okay, good on you, mate. You've gone back to your hometown team. You've bought them a fight, and now the way that he's pulled I hate the Lakers. I really do. But the way you have to admire him. You have to admire him. He's gone there. He's picked the talent that basically he wanted to play with, and he's got them a title. So you can't begrudge him that. But as far as being the greatest of all time, I just think Michael Jordan just had something else. Something else, like it's just that competitive, taking it to the nth degree, Whereas sometimes I think LeBron, I don't know, he just shows his fatigue or just something, man. There's just a little spark of something missing. A little bit of magic dust, which Michael had, which I don't think LeBron does. So for me, Michael's still my number one as well, mate. Closely followed by Larry Bird, of course.
And the final of the GOAT discussions,
Yeah.
Rafael Nadal beats Novak Djokovic to win his 13th French Open title and his 20th Grand Slam title. Should Rafa now be considered the tennis GOAT?
Those are crazy numbers, aren't they? 13 French Open titles. 13. Yep. The guy's, 35? So that means if he started when he was 21, he's won 30. There's only 2 other guys in the last 15 years that have won the French Open, and they've both won it once. He's won it 13 times. I don't think you can consider him the GOAT, the greatest of all time. You can definitely consider him the GOAT on clay, for sure.
Oh,
I mean, absolutely no. He's streets ahead of everyone else. But as far as the greatest of all time, I think you have to do it on all surfaces. And for me, Sampras and
Agassi.
No. Sampras and Federer are still the greatest for me. Agassi, I love Agassi, but he did it more by just sheer determination and will, I think, Agassi. Whereas Sampras and Federer just have that beautiful touch. They're beautiful athletes to watch. Rafa, once again, he's all muscle and pump, isn't he? He's all spit and hard work and just I admire him a lot. But I don't think that I can consider him the greatest of all time when he's won 13 of 20 majors on clay. But
Nadal's come a long way since losing the final of the ASB Classic in 2003.
Yes, I remember. I was actually there in 2003 and saw him win his semi-final. So how's that? I actually saw him.
I can't remember who beat him though.
Was it Correa? Guy called an Argentinian guy, I think. I can't remember.
Oh, I thought he was Israeli.
Was it that guy? Yeah. Anyway, so what do you think, mate? Is he the GOAT?
No, he's definitely the GOAT on clay. No doubt about it, 100%. But I think he's definitely behind Rafa and behind Roger and Pete Sampras in that regard. Interesting fact I picked up yesterday: Federer and Nadal have never played each other at the US Open.
Really?
Hmm.
That's crazy stat.
It was a question on the Chase yesterday.
Was it really? That's a crazy stat, considering they've been playing 20 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And every other, all the other three.
Yeah, of course. But
US Open.
That's unbelievable. Okay, mate, let's finish our quick hits with a baseball question, and this one specifically for you because they're your team. What happened to the team with the largest payroll in baseball in the MLB playoffs, mate? Yankees, WTF. What? You said they were going to win the whole thing. You said they were going to the big dance with the Dodgers. Got knocked out, mate. What happened?
Quite simply, they got beaten by a better team. The Tampa Bay Rays played good baseball. The Yankees took it to the wire, and of course, that last game, Game 5, was only a 2-1 result in the end. 3 home runs decided that game, 1 for the Yankees and 2 for the Tampa Bay Rays. Garrett Cole, I thought, pitched amazing with only 3 days rest. Normally a pitcher pitches on 5 days rest. But Cole came out for the first time in his career and pitched on 3 days rest. Took the game into the 6th inning before he handed it over to the bullpen, and one of Aroldis Chapman's 100-mile-an-hour missiles got sent back over his head, over the fence by Arozarena, who has had an amazing postseason. So, Yankees missing a couple of key pitchers throughout the year. Luis Severino went down with Tommy John surgery. He'll be back next year, maybe not at the beginning of the year. And Domingo Germán, who was suspended by MLB for domestic violence issues. And James Paxton had injury problems throughout the year. So missing 3 of their top 5 pitchers hasn't helped. But as I said, 2 of them haven't been there right from the start. So they did have enough depth in pitching to win that series. But as I say, Tampa just played better, pitched better, fielded better, and hit better. So, sad season, sad ending to the short season for the Yankees. But, they'll be back bigger and stronger next year. Who knows? There's some pretty good free agents around over the northern winter. So it'll be interesting to see if the Yankees go in for any of those to strengthen the pitching, because in any team, pitching will win you championships. And, traditionally that's what we've seen over the last few years is the teams with the best pitching lineups tend to win the championships.
So all I heard there was a bunch of excuses. Basically the reason they lost is injuries, didn't have the right players, got to buy some better players, a couple of home runs that shouldn't have been home runs. Whatever, mate, you lost. No Yankees.
Yeah.
Go the Rays. Go the Rays.
The Rays played better baseball.
All right, mate. That ends our 2-minute hits. It's been a lot of fun. What are you going to be watching over the weekend?
Oh, it'll be more baseball, be the Supercars, Mount Panorama, Bathurst, and, of course, the Rugby Test. And I might be able to fit in a bit of Premier League, of course. The big game, Everton-Liverpool, on 12:30 New Zealand time on Saturday night. So we'll remains to be seen if I stay up to watch it live or whether I wake up in the morning and watch it. But I'll definitely be watching that. And, there'll be plenty of sport over the weekend.
Now, the motorsport, we were talking about this earlier. What happened to that Scott Dixon, Shane McLaughlin race, the final race of the season? That's on in a week or two, isn't it? We thought it was on
Labor
this weekend.
weekend.
So it's not until Labor weekend. So Scott McLaughlin's got Bathurst first, and then he flies to the US.
He does.
So we're still looking forward to seeing how that season finishes as well. I'm going to be watching the NRL, of course. Two big semi-finals: Storm Raiders Friday night, Panthers Rabbitohs Saturday night. I'm watching the rugby, the All Blacks and Australia's second test, of course, from Eden Park, while it's still Eden Park, on Sunday after.
Cooper's Catch Park.
Cooper's Catch Park. I'll call it Fitzpatrick Stadium.
The fish and chip shop from Kaikoura has got the naming rights from an ASB
Fair enough.
competition over the weekend. So
Fair enough. Like it.
So the Bledisloe Cup's at Cooper's Catch Park this week.
Cooper's Catch Park. Fantastic. And you don't even have to queue for your fish and chips. And also, of course, the EPL returns with the Merseyside Derby. Saturday night, Sunday morning, 12:30 a.m. So it's quite an early start. Like you say, I might get up in the morning and watch that. But if you do get up in the morning, there's more games to watch because Man City Arsenal's at 5:30 a.m. and then Newcastle Man United at 8 a.m. So that's going to be a really good morning, Sunday morning. Just a quick little tip for you here. Anyone that's stayed right to the end, put a little bit of money on Newcastle to beat Manchester United. I've already taken some money off Manchester United this year by taking Tottenham against them a couple of weeks ago. I think Manchester United could be in for a bit of a shake-up on Sunday morning. So there you go.
Certainly could be. And my pick for next week's MLB Baseball World Series, I'm going to do a surprise here. I'm going to say it'll be the Tampa Bay Rays playing the Atlanta Braves.
Ooh, Rays Braves. Yeah, nice.
I just think the Braves pitching has the slight edge over the Dodgers, especially with Clayton Kershaw going down. So,
and if that is the World Series, we'll talk a little bit more in depth about that World Series next week as well.
Might have to get Clint Barclay on, a big Atlanta Braves fan. So
definitely. He's been shouting Team Braves on the WhatsApp for a little while now, hasn't he?
Quite right. Anyway, that's our lot for this week. So it's a good afternoon, good night from me.
Yeah, and remember to make a comment and drop us a like below, and make sure you subscribe to the Hot Air Sports podcast on YouTube. What did you say, mate?
Yeah, and it's a good night from him. Good night.